Hey, welcome to my channel. I'm Elma. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some of my favorite brushes. We're going to be talking about eye brushes as well as face brushes. So if it's something you're interested in, keep on watching.
I gotta tell you something I could do.
We're gonna start off with the eye brushes because there are a few of them and they are very specific to certain tasks. So let's begin. The first brush I have for you is this BH Cosmetics flat brush. It actually came in a set, and this flat brush is one that I use all the time when I do my makeup. Personally, I use it to clean under my brows because I love how sharp it is and how sharp I can get in there and then flatten it out to then blend my concealer underneath my brow. And my brushes are dirty, and this is a classic. This is the MAC 217 brush. It is the best brush in my opinion to apply color, be it to your crease or all over your eye area. It's one of those brushes that is very versatile, and in all honesty, I have a whole bunch of brushes like this that are kind of shaped the same to blend out and apply color. I especially love using it in my crease area. If you've been around for a while, you've probably seen me use this a couple of times to apply color in this area over here. And what I love about it is because it's kind of like fine here and then kind of fluffs up at the end, it makes it really easy to blend out color and diffuse color. And because it is still slightly dense, it's a really good brush to tap in color and then blend out. It's one of those brushes that if you're not really into brushes and you want one brush to have for your eyes, this is the brush that I think that you should definitely get. The next brush I want to talk about is the MORPHE E58. This is a small blending brush that I really enjoy using, especially when I want to blend something in a very specific area. This is the brush I use to do that, especially for example if I've applied color in my crease and then I want to blend it out. This is the brush I would most likely use for it. The brush that I think that everybody should have in their collection is a big fluffy brush. This one doesn't specifically have a name. It's from BH Cosmetics. It's one of the first eye brushes I ever bought, and this BH Cosmetics fluffy brush is my OG go-to. I have a whole bunch of other big fluffy brushes, but I keep on coming back to this one because it is especially fluffy and it's kind of big, so it's really perfect to really diffuse the color. This is the blending brush of all blending brushes in my opinion, and the reason I say that is because it's one of those brushes I always keep clean when I am doing my makeup, but because it is so fluffy and it is kind of like big, it does a really good job at truly blending out the color and diffusing and making everything look amazing. I know I use the word blend a lot of times in this video, but I always say this: the secret to good makeup is blending. If all fails, blend. You'd be surprised how a look can go from to ooh with just an amazing blending brush, and this is one of them that just so this BH Cosmetic brush has a special place in my heart without a doubt. All the brushes I'm talking about in this video are going to be listed in the description box below, and if you click through the link, it's an affiliate link. I might get a commission on it. You are helping the channel by purchasing through that link, but definitely check this out. Brush is the Bristle Beauty brush, and I actually have a code with Bristle Beauty. I'll be putting it right here. If you're interested in purchasing from them, do so. Full disclosure, I do get a commission, but this brush from Bristle Beauty is the P06RF, so Precision Brush 06, and I really love this brush because it's really tiny, and if you've been with me for a while, you know that cut creases are not really my thing, but now that I kind of sort of a little bit know how to do cut creases, I have to say that it is thanks to this brush that I was able to do so. What I love about this brush is that it is very flat and it is very small, and even though I seem to have big eyeballs, I do really prefer going in with a smaller hand than like a big fat brush to cutting my crease, because it's really precise and I can really put it over my crease here, because as you can see I have hooded eyes and this just fits in nicely. It really holds product really well, and unlike a lot of like flat brushes that I see here and there and that I have used, it does hold the shape of the brush and it doesn't like fray or anything like that, so you really have this like precise application and placement of any type of like concealer or stuff like that. So check it out. The brush that I will say is probably the big sister of the bristle brush is the MAC 239. That is what I mean by this brush keeping its shape opposed to this one. So the thing with the MAC 239 is I find it's the best brush to apply shimmer shadows. There's something about it that just, I don't know how to explain it. It just grabs onto shimmer shadows really well and applies really nicely. If you wet your brush on top of it, you're on top of the world. So this 217 brush is perfect for applying shadows, and the fact that it's flat really enables you to just, you know, press down your shadow and, you know, sweep it along your lid. And yeah, 217 brush, that is what I use it for. Another really good eyeshadow brush to use to apply shimmer shadows a little bit more precisely and even like in specific areas is the Sigma E47. This is called the shader crease brush, but I really like to use it to apply shimmer shades. I find that it applies it really nicely, and also when you wet it, it just, there's something about it. A good shimmer that works well with this brush once you wet it are the Huda Beauty ones, and I know the Huda Beauty shimmers are kind of like difficult to work with, but with this brush, really good. The next brush is my favorite brush that I use to blend out my lower lash line, or, you know, to smoke out my lower lash line, and that is the Sephora Collection number 28 brush. This to blend your lower lash line is amazing. The reason why I started using this is because I found myself going for, say, brushes like this and pinching them to be able to get the shape of this. And this just did it for me. And what I like about it is that because it's so tightly packed but still kind of loose here, it's really easy to apply shadow and then blend it out. It kind of like diffuses it very lightly, so like that really smoky under eye. This is the perfect brush I find to blend your lower lash line. Is the Sigma E36. This brush, I really love it because it is a tiny micro little shimmy blending brush. If you are really into crease work and you want to blend in a very specific area but still be able to, you know, diffuse the product without issue, this brush from Sigma is amazing for that, especially when, say, you're applying like a darker color over here and you want to diffuse it. It's perfect. Next brush is the MAC 219. This is a pencil brush. I really love this when I want to apply shadows in a detailed manner, or when I'm creating, say, a wing line with some eyeshadow. This is really great for that. And because it's a little bit bigger, you can also use it to apply color in very specific areas, say when you're cutting a crease or something like that, or just if you want to lightly diffuse color or apply color to your lash line and, you know, create lines and stuff like that. A pencil brush to have in your collection is always amazing, and this one from MAC is one of my favorites that I keep on going back to over and over again. Another thing I love to use with this pencil brush is to dip it in a nice beautiful shimmer shade and apply it to my inner corner, because it's just perfect placement over there, and because it is so packed, it can really get the color on there nicely. Last but definitely not least, this is the Bristle Beauty P07 brush, and what I love about this is that when I'm creating that when I really want that precise shadow line, or even to create a foxy eye, like, you know, this little inner corner, this is the perfect brush for that. You can also use it, say, for your gel cream pot eyeliners. Those are really good, because one thing that's really nice about this brush is, like, once it is saturated with the product, especially if it's more of a like gel or liquid product, it really does come to a really fine tip, and you can really get some very nice detail work in there. Even also if you're into like line work, amazing and perfect for that. That concludes it for the eye brushes. Let's move on to the face. I just want to say real quick, like, yes, there's a mix of high-end and drugstore, and that's because I believe that you don't necessarily need a $50 brush to get the work going. You have amazing brushes that are not that expensive, and you saw a couple of them with the eye brushes, and now we're going to move on to the face brushes. And full disclaimer, there is a lot of Real Techniques brushes. That's because I really enjoy the quality of the brush, plus it's drugstore and therefore very affordable. But most especially, I've had some of these brushes for a couple of years. Actually, most of my brushes, I've had them for a couple of years and they just last super long. And it's all about maintenance, cleaning them regularly and all that good stuff. 2 face brushes. I have 2 options for you, one drugstore, one high-end. It's not going to be like this for all the brushes, but for this case, I felt that I had 2 brushes for you just in case, you know. When it comes to foundation brushes, I like to work with small foundation brushes. I have a whole bunch of like bigger, you know, kabuki type foundation brushes, but I find myself over the years much preferring the smaller brushes because I'm more into more detail work. I don't always necessarily apply foundation everywhere. That's just how I am. The first one is the Real Techniques 200 brush. This is an amazing brush because it is very dense and it kind of comes to like this small dome over here, so it's a really good brush to blend out product, to stipple product on, and just to, you know, give you like a flawless finish. And one thing I love about this brush is that because of how it is shaped, you can really get in there like precisely, and you can also really diffuse the product once it's on your face. Sometimes I like to dot my product and then diffuse, or just dip in and then diffuse. Either way works, and I really love the Real Techniques brush. It's amazing for that. This one is kind of similar as well. As you can see, they're kind of like shaped the same. I have a thing for these kind of brushes, and it is the number 56 by Sephora. You've seen it in a lot of my videos. Anytime I'm doing some kind of like foundation review of some sort, I'm always having like one brush to one side and a beauty sponge to the other. Most times the beauty sponge may change, but a lot of times the foundation brush doesn't change. One thing I really love about this brush is honestly the shape. I just love working in small sections and just blending out everything precisely. I like for my foundation to really blend into my skin, and with a brush like this, I find that it's so much easier to have and take control of your foundation placement and your foundation like blending. And when you're going back, for example, to blend out, you know, concealer or contour with whatever leftover you have on, you have like precise application and you're not making a muddy mess out of everything. So this brush, amazing. This is concealer brush. So this is the MORPHE E45. I really love this brush because it's small, it's dome, it can pack on product, and that's what I love about this brush. You can pack on the product and easily diffuse the concealer, and it just looks really flawless and nicely blended and everything. It almost does the work for you. Also, I really love this brush for, let's say I'm applying an eye primer, say like the ABH primer, kind of like the P. Louise. This is amazing also to blend out those products. So it's very good for like cream products and blending out and diffusing product while still keeping that intensity that you want. So yeah, favorite brush for my under eye like powdering and stuff like that, because I don't bake as much. I say my favorite one is this E.L.F. tapered brush. It's one of the first brushes that I bought as well when I came to Canada. It was like super affordable. But what I love about this E.L.F. brush is you can pack on powder and also sweep powder away with this brush, and it's tapered so it can really get in there. This is a great brush to have if you're not really into baking, and it really does a good job at applying any kind of like loose powder for under your eyes. Amazing. Talking about the contour brushes, and I have 2 options for you, and they are both from Real Techniques. So the first one is not actually technically a contour brush. It's this small Deluxe Crease brush, and what I love with this is to apply contour to my face in very precise locations. Obviously, this is not a must-have, but it's one of the brushes. I'm just showing you the brushes I use. Like, you can obviously streamline all these to, you know, the bare minimum, but I'm here to share with you my favorites. Plus, this video has been long overdue, so I'm not holding back. This brush, amazing to place your contour product. Why I love it is because it is so small. So if you're into detail placement of contour and you don't want to be all over the place, this is the brush for you. So I especially use this for when I want to like contour my nose or contour around my lips, or precisely place contour in specific areas of my face. So this is more of a contour placement brush than anything else. This is also the brush that I use to blend and diffuse the product. It is really good for that as well, so a must have if you're into precise contouring. One is the sculpting brush from Real Techniques. Really love this to diffuse any type of contour that is in the, I would say, bigger areas of my face, so like forehead, cheekbones, along the jawline. It's amazing because it's so tightly packed and it is a dense brush yet still has some give. It's amazing to blend and diffuse product, but in such a way that it's not taking away from, you know, your placement, because usually when you're placing your contour you want to blend it out but not so much that you don't see it anymore, and this is amazing for that. And I don't know if I'm precise, but this I use that for cream contour specifically. If you have trouble with, say, the matchsticks from Fenty Beauty, use this or this to blend and it's just gonna blend like a dream. I hope I'm making sense. Powder brushes, I have 3 options for you. So the first one is the Cover FX powder brush. I really love this to apply any kind of pressed powder onto my skin because it is really fluffy and dense. It does a really good job at collecting product, and you can then just, you know, press it really into your skin whilst also diffusing and blending at the same time. This brush for that, amazing. This one is one of my favorite brushes as well to use with any kind of pressed or even mineral type powder. This is really amazing, and because it kind of comes at an angle, it's really great to apply and press in powder into your skin, and you can also diffuse as well, but it's more of a, like, I would say, packing, pressing type brush for, you know, powder. The next one is the Morphe Y9. So this brush is kind of interesting because it took me a while before figuring it out. I don't remember what this is advertised as, but I personally love to use it with luminous setting powders, like say the Laura Mercier setting powder. Those kind of like luminous kind of powders I find is amazing with this brush. And the technique that I do, the thing is, you want to dip your brush into your powder and then just tap it so that the powder comes down into your brush, and that way when you are blending and applying your luminous setting powder, it is diffusing the product onto your face. And specifically for luminous setting powders, because it's not dense and it's actually kind of like loose, it really does a good job at applying that loose luminous setting powder without you looking like a tin, you know, person. And it's amazing for that. I'm gonna move on to blush brush. I have 2 options for you. The first one is this angle blush brush from E.L.F, and I really love this to either apply cream or powder products onto my cheeks. It's actually one of the first blush brushes I ever had, and because it has kind of like this angle shape, it really makes it easy to place and apply you know, your blush. Also for cream products, great. Like especially, for example, the Fenty Beauty cream product. This is really good for blending that out. This blush brush that I really love, and this is especially for powder blushes, is amazing because it's so fluffy and so loose. It doesn't pack so much product on, so you can build up your product whilst diffusing everything. And you know, blush, you'd rather build up than have too much and then have to remove. This brush is amazing for that. Bronzer, I have 2 options for you as well, and the first one is the Sigma Soft Angle Contour Brush. Advertised as a contour brush, but I love to use it as a bronzing brush, especially say if I haven't applied a cream contour of some sort prior and I'm just using powder and I want my bronzer to be a little bit more accentuated. This is the brush I'm going to be using because it is really dense and still very like fluffy, like, do you see that? And it's just really great for applying and blending and diffusing a product. And because of how it is placed, especially if you're new to makeup, I find that this brush is amazing because it really does apply the contour in a more of a precise manner. You can use this brush more for your bronzer that you apply more as a contour. Use your bronzer as truly a bronzer is meant to be used, aka when you apply bronzer to the parts of your face where the sun would hit naturally. So around here, a little bit maybe across, lightly on the cheeks, and you want more of that diffuse light application, more of like a sweep of like, ooh, I've been in the sun. The Morphe M527 is the brush for you. This brush is not dense at all. It's kind of like natural type bristle as well. And for powder, it's the best brush ever. This just applies bronzer in such a like diffused way. Like it's not meant for heavy application. It really diffuses everything. And it kind of applies it, I don't want to say roughly either, but it's really more of a like light type of application if you want to to look sun-kissed. This is the brush for your highlighter brushes. I have a couple of options here for you, and we're gonna start with this Pro Demi Fan number 72 from Sephora. It's new to my collection, and what I love about this brush is that it is huge. Okay, it is huge. This is not meant for precise application. When you just want to sweep highlighter onto your cheeks and you want it to really be diffused instantly, this is the brush for you. And because it is so big, you'd be scared that okay, you don't get much control, but it really gives you like kind of like that diffused look. And I use it especially for like all of these brushes I use, except for this other one, I use with powder highlighter. These two brushes, I feel that they come hand in hand and they kind of name the same. So you have the Morphe M510 and the Morphe M501. These are really great brushes for applying highlighter. If you want more of a precise application, this is really good. This gives you a more diffused highlighted look. The M510 is a little bit more of a diffused application, but because it's small, you can still get like that precise placement. And same kind of goes for the M501, except that it doesn't diffuse the product as much because it kind of comes to like a sort of like tapered end. I don't know if I'm making sense, but these two brushes are, in my opinion, must have for your collection. The next one I say is good for like more of like cream or liquid highlighters, and this is the Sigma High Cheekbone Highlighter Brush. It works great as well for powder highlighters, but especially for cream and liquids, I find that this is really good. For example, say the Rare Beauty highlighter or even the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood. This is really good for that. And again, because it is kind of like synthetic, it really does a great job at blending out the cream products and applying it in specific areas of your face. I'm going to be talking about beauty sponges. I have 3 options for you. One of them, in all honesty, I don't use as much as I used to before, but I do feel the need to mention it nonetheless because I feel like it's really a hybrid between a brush and a beauty sponge. Because the thing is, like, usually when you use a brush, you have more coverage when it comes to your application, whereas when you're using a sponge, because you know it's wet and it absorbs product, you don't get as much coverage. This is the hybrid between the two, and it's none other than the Juno sponge. I actually have a review demo type thing on my channel over here in the cards if you want to check it out. And the thing about the Juno sponge, it has kind of like this velvet surface, and because of how it's made, it doesn't absorb as much product, so you really get a lot more coverage when using this velvet sponge. Also, I love the shape of it because you have like this flat angle side and this really nice dome that comes kind of like to a tip, so it's really perfect for application. Even if you're, you know, cutting your cheekbones or stuff like that, this is just amazing. Again, it's one of those that you need to completely saturate with water in order to use it. That's the best way of that I find. I think you can also use it dry, but I just like using it wet always. So the Juno sponge, amazing for that. I find that it's truly a hybrid between a brush and a beauty sponge. One is the Beauty Blender. This is a classic. I personally prefer the Beauty Blender Pro. I don't really like the original, like the pink one. I find that when you wash it, that it leaks a lot of like color. And also I find that the Pro version lasts longer as well than the original. I don't know if it's in my head, but to me that's how it feels. And so yeah, it's a classic. It's one of those products that everybody has in some way or of some sort, but over the years I find myself straying away from this, not only because of the price but also because I found other things. By the way, the Juno sponge retails for like $6, just so you know, whereas the Beauty Blender at this point retails for like 26 or 28 Canadian dollars plus tax. So it stays in my collection and I keep on repurchasing it for a reason. It's a great sponge. Do I think it's overpriced? Definitely. Do I think there's better things out there? Yeah, for sure. But it's one of those sponges that's really good at, you know, just blending out your product. It does absorb quite some product as well, unlike the Juno sponge that doesn't absorb much. The form of it is amazing, just, you know, to apply product and blend out. And also I find that because it's not so porous, it really does a really good job at flawlessly blending whatever product into your skin. Recently, I have been totally in love and mostly always kind of exclusively only using the sponge, and it's the Dose of Color sponge. Mine is dirty because I actually used it today. Really love this because, one, this is a jumbo size, so it's quite big, and I think that it's a beautiful mix between these two in the sense that it doesn't absorb as much product as the Beauty Blender does, and also the shape of it is just perfect. It comes to like a really nice fine tip, so it really does a great job at get into like the nooks and crannies of your face. And because of how it is, it's very malleable in the hand. I don't know how else to explain it, and it really does a great job at, you know, diffusing, blending, making sure all your, like, this is just my favorite beauty sponge in all honesty. Like I just love this so much. It is a great sponge to have, my favorite sponge, just to, you know, blend out everything. Freaking amazing. Even like for powder, oh my god, like if I was to bake under my eye, this too is amazing because you really get in there, and I don't know, it does something to your powder and your face that it just marvelous. So those are all the brushes that I use. I know that it's a lot of brushes, and keep in mind I am a beauty YouTuber. I do this, like this is my thing, okay? Do I think that you need all these brushes? Definitely not. If you're interested, down the line I could probably do a streamlined minimalist essential brush kit video for you. If you're interested in that, please comment below and let me know, or just, like, you know, slide into my DMs on Instagram at Elrosaddiction. If this video was helpful to you, or you think that it would be helpful to someone, kindly like and share. It really does help my channel a lot when you interact with me, so that's a, you know, that's added bonus, I suppose. If you haven't done it already and you enjoyed this video and you want to see more from me, kindly subscribe to my channel and also hit that notification bell so you're notified when I have new videos. I see that our family is growing and it really makes me happy. At this point, there are a couple of videos that have popped up on the screen. If you haven't watched them, you should definitely check them out. Other than that, you should subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Hit that notification bell so you're notified when I have new videos, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!